In the late 80s, I loved Garfield cartoons and comic strips. The fat lazy lasagna eating bastard was hugely popular, and if you ever watched the cartoons you can see why. And over time, various games were released for different platforms. But is Garfield on the Game Boy any good? Oh, let's have a little look. In the late 70s, Jim Davis created what would become an iconic character, Garfield. A lazy cat who loves lasagna and rules his owner, John. The cast would gradually increase to include Odie the dog and Nermal the cute cat, as well as other human characters. Over the years he would go from newspaper strips to comics and cartoons and of course video games. But this game wasn't just Garfield in its own right. In America it was the real Ghostbusters, and in Japan it was Mickey Mouse 4. The story here is very simple. Garfield has fallen into a labyrinth under some ancient ruins. He must collect stars to unlock doors to find his way out. Your health is displayed in the bottom left of the screen, represented by hearts. To the right of that is the time you have left of the stage, and in the right are the amount of stars remaining in that stage. You start off with only a couple of stars to collect to get to grips with the game. Your moves are jump and attack, which is the jackhammer. You'll always be equipped with just the jackhammer. If you pause the game, a select screen will appear at the bottom, which is where you can store inventory such as bombs, keys and spare hearts. Controlling Garfield seems fine to begin with, but eventually found it becoming increasingly difficult as he'll start crawling backwards at some point. With some areas becoming quite tight, his moves become harder to execute, especially when enemies come hurtling towards you. You will encounter enemies that can't be jumped on, and you can't attack with the jackhammer. However, there are bombs that can be found inside or hidden in breakable blocks, which you can lay down and wait for an enemy to walk into it. Bombs aren't always wasted though. If your enemy doesn't come close enough to hit the bomb, you can always pick it back up again. All levels require you to use the jackhammer in order to progress through the stage. Learning what block to destroy first can be a head scratcher to begin with, as you can only destroy the block that is either to the left or right below you. If you make a mistake, you can wait for the block to reappear to try again, but be careful, as if you're underneath a block you've destroyed, it may come back before you have time to break blocks below you. This will result in a lost life. As well as collecting the stars, you will also have to find keys that may open a trapdoor or lower a platform for you to go across. These are normally easy to find and sometimes may be more than one to find in a stage. Doors marked with a W will send you back to a different part of the stage in order for you to find the missing keys or stars. Once you have found all the stars, the music will change and you'll be given a huge key which will open the exit for you. It's a case of finding that door before the time runs out. As you go on through the game, it will naturally get more difficult and quite frustrating. Trying to get off ladders can be a pain, especially if there's an enemy climbing up at the same time. Using your bombs as they follow you is the best thing for getting rid of them, as they'll keep getting in your way. This is a good title for the Game Boy. It's a fun platform puzzle game that will only entertain for so long. Unfortunately, there are 40 levels to get through and it just becomes very repetitive and more frustrating as you progress. On this stage I got caught out by an enemy that couldn't move anywhere, and as I only had one hit left there was no way of avoiding losing a life. Controls became hard to use, especially when trying to avoid enemies when you have no bomb supplies. At this point there's just cheap deaths, which I found annoying as there's no way of recovering from this fall. You just have to wait for all your health to drain away. Maybe if there's a checkpoint halfway through a level it wouldn't be so bad, and maybe a weapon to use instead of searching for bombs might make this a little bit more enjoyable. Thankfully there's a password at the end of each stage, so you'll never have to go through all the previous stages you've worked so hard on again. The level design is just the same all the way through, which is okay but could be better, just like DuckTales managed to do. The sound again is okay, but nothing that will be remembered after playing. If it was its own unique game, I think more effort would have been put in to make it more enjoyable, but it's just a sprite swap game that didn't grip me enough. It's an okay game that I think I'd play again, but not anytime soon. It's still a relatively cheap game if you get it as a cartridge only, but not worth the high price complete in the box.